This is a Shrimps Trust podcast. All news and all views expressed in the podcast are those of the contributors, not necessarily those of Morecambe Football Club.
Yeah, 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 yeah. God, I believe me. Blessing in the land is Morecambe FC. Has gone to see me. Blessing in the land is Morecambe FC.
Welcome along to ShrimpNet number 6, ShrimpsNet number 6. We've got 3 guests for you today. The last podcast we had, we were heading towards the end of the season, and we've got so much to discuss that I think we're going to have to sort of like move pretty swiftly this evening. We've got 3 guests, all Shrimps Trust members, 3 pretty clued up digital media people as well. We've got Treasurer of the Shrimps Trust, Jack Steer. Welcome along, Jack.
It's nice to be here.
We've got our recent guest, Joel Shooter, who's moved back from doing missionary work in Yorkshire and is now back in Lancashire, I believe, Joel.
I know, yeah. I don't have to fly the red flag out the window in Yorkshire. I'm back, and I'm ready for a bit of League One, so I'm looking forward to that.
Good effort. And finally, he's been my tech guru through my digital journey into the 21st century. Long-time fan and the man who managed to get to Wembley a million times, Mickey Miller. Welcome along, Mickey.
Evening, Freeze. Good to be here and looking forward to League One.
Yeah, it sounds rather strange saying looking forward to League One, doesn't it? But before we get on to that, let's look at how we got there. And excuse me, League Two, Derek Adams, promotion, 30% possession in most games. that's got to be one of the strangest stories of the season. And as we know from watching Quest, Colin Murray, we were his favourite team because it was the story of the season for Quest, and it was obviously, as Morecambe fans, it was the story of our season. There were many highlights, and I'm going to come to Joel first. What were your favourite bits of the season?
Of the season, I think. Well, obviously, I'm not going to go straight to the obvious answer, the playoff final. But looking throughout the season, I think Colchester, when we won 3-0 at home, actually really stood out to me. I felt that was just such an assured performance and very, very dominant. I felt very happy after that. And obviously, the other big one, Salford at home. Those 2 last-minute goals. Your commentary freeze, that was quite something. I was kind of... I was actually at work. I was technically meant to be working at the time, but I had my laptop next to me, and I had it on the floor next to me because in the room where I work from, the internet connection is rubbish. So I had to have it on the floor by my chair by the door so it actually would connect. And then obviously those goals go in. I was kind of jumping around, screaming. I come down, and I'm getting asked, "So have you been promoted then?" No, we just won a football match. But yeah, that was quite something. But then obviously, all culminating in the day at the Mazuma for the Tranmere game, and then obviously Wembley, of course.
So yeah, looking back at that, I'm not being. Just me having the memory. Colchester got Harry Pell sent off after about 20 minutes, didn't they? That changed the game, but we were absolutely brilliant because just for a change, because they had 10 men, we actually saw more of the ball and used it really, really well. And when we didn't have the ball all season, we were brilliant at stopping teams and then breaking on them. And it still didn't affect us that day, Joel, did it?
No, not at all. I think it was about 60 minutes he got sent off.
Yeah,
I think because there'd been that amazing goal before half-time where Carlos had just done one of his chopped passes through to Phillips. And that was lovely. And then in the second half, obviously, Ryan Cooney, who seems to have a real habit of winding people up, got in Pell's face after a bit of a heavy challenge, gets the headbutt, Pell's off. And then, yeah, we really did express ourselves after that. I mean, I seem to remember that was a game when Phillips really, really just looked like a cut above. And John O'Sullivan had a great game as well. And the way they combined for some of the goals, and we were able to kind of see a bit more the combination play and the good, quick passing moves, but obviously against a slightly weaker side. But, it was great to be able to kind of show that off a bit more.
So moving on, we'll come to Jack. Your favourite moments of the season. Don't say Wembley.
No, I think Wembley's a given, and obviously we've been fortunate enough to be there twice in 14 years, which I think actually allowed for us to have an even better occasion this time, because obviously we'd experienced it once, and to go back again, you sort of knew what to expect a little bit, and so that was great. But for me, it was probably the semi-final actually, and I know that's still obviously a big occasion, but away from the football, it was just more everyone obviously being back together. It's obviously a very difficult year for everyone for various reasons, but not least the football club means a lot to a lot of people. And I think just being in that crowd, regardless of the performance or the result, seeing the faces that we've seen week in, week out for years, and how happy they were just to be back, never mind to obviously win and then get to Wembley. So for me, that was definitely the standout moment of last season, which was a very strange season.
Yeah, a very bizarre season. And as you said, I think I'd like to mention something just about that as a personal opinion, because obviously I was lucky enough to be at lots of games. And the one thing that stood out to me about the Tranmere game was, the novelty of having a crowd there was fantastic. And as you said, Jack, everybody was in a great mood. Obviously, we were 2-1 up from the away leg, but 1,600 Morecambe fans spread around all four sides of the ground. And that is genuinely the only time any Morecambe ground, whether it be Christie Park or there, has had all four sides singing at the same time. It was superb. It was hair on the back of your neck. It was that brilliant. And I was just, when we qualified and I got to Wembley, obviously, and the team were going round, the atmosphere was electric. You could have thought there was 5,000-6,000 there. It was absolutely brilliant. So I can understand why you picked that one. So come on then, Mickey. Your favourite moments? You're running out of them, I suppose. No, not really. 7-0 Newcastle. Oh no, hang on. That was 10.
Well, I think apart from the obvious Wembley stuff, again, I've got to stick with Jack and say the semi-finals. A broad, good memory of mine was for the first leg. A couple of us went down to the Trimple to watch it and stuff, and just seeing faces again with not seen in ages was good. And also, it was good to get back to the Mazuma as well, and obviously get to Wembley in the end. And yeah, and again, echoing what Jack said before, it was so good to get back to the ground and stuff, and see people who've not seen in months. And yeah.
So look, following on from that, the job that Derek Adams did, we all know now it was probably the worst kept secret in football that Bradford had approached him in January, and it was a done deal. I mean, some of the board act quite surprised and still maintain, we didn't know. And it was like, well, everybody in Bradford knew, because I know Scott Thornton and a couple of Bradford fans, they went, we're getting your manager. That was in March. So it was like the worst kept secret. But anyway, but Derek did a fantastic job, given the fact that he only came in sort of like December the season before. He didn't have a lot to work with. He didn't have a lot of money. Some of his signings we were questioning, with like, oh, crikey, what's happened there? But the brand of football suited the players he had and was very successful. So I'll come again to you, Joel. It wasn't possession-based. It was very much with people like Jan Songo, Toombs and what have you. We were very economical with the ball, but we were still somehow great to watch.
Yeah, no, it was incredibly exciting to watch last season. I think when you look at football as a whole, a lot of teams spend their money very, very badly. So when we come along and we make a load of signings that people kind of don't really value that much, and then play a style of football that suits them, and the way that Derek kind of gelled them together and kind of had a style that worked for them, it just made such a good side. And I think almost to an extent, I do kind of half wonder if it became so exaggerated with us not having the ball. I wonder if that was slightly influenced by not having fans in, because at the end of the day, you do get a little bit like, come on, let's keep the ball or whatever. But it became quite exaggerated. But we made the most of that, and just the way we would cut teams apart on the break was just a bit scary at times. It was quite weird to watch. But yeah, and I remember, I think Bradford, talking to Bradford game, the last game of the season, that was a particularly interesting one, because we didn't even really play massively well that game. It was just solid at the back. Bradford barely got a look in until the last 10 minutes. And then we turned it on 2 or 3 times in the first half, got a goal, a couple of times in the second half, got another goal. And it we could cut through teams so easily, and we see that in the statistics. We had like the highest chance creation in League Two, and there's a reason for that. And maybe the conditions that the football that was played in last season, maybe that kind of was why it was so weird with us having so little possession but so many chances, that kind of was allowed to thrive. But yeah, it was just a fascinating thing to watch, and ultimately it was quite entertaining. It's always entertaining when you're winning anyway.
Well, that's how I'm going to come and say that to you now, Jack, because the simple fact is, people want to be entertained, and they want entertaining football, but we won 23 games. That's half our fixtures. That's got to make a good season, hasn't it?
Definitely, and a lot of those came at home as well. And over recent seasons, we've certainly not seen anywhere near that number at home. In fact, we've struggled, haven't we? So, yeah, at the end of the day, people just want to see winning football. They want to walk away from the stadium with a smile on their faces, and obviously the fans weren't there to do that, but you certainly did at home, and that's the main thing, isn't it? So, but it was entertaining football, and like Joel says, top in the league for creating chances, but we were solid at the back, and really interesting to watch, and also see how Derek shaped that squad for the season after the 6 months or so that he had the season prior to that, and obviously it's all paid off in the end.
I'll come to Mickey now. We questioned some of the signings, and I think the first one that everybody will say is Jordan Slew, but bizarrely Jordan got injured probably about 120 minutes after his best 90 minutes and his best 45 minutes in a Morecambe shirt, which was a shame. But you look at what Derek did with people like Cole and John O'Sullivan and Aaron Wildig and Sam Lavelle, and he added to that cleverly with some loans. Obviously we signed Toombs in the January of the season before, and we got Phillips then, and we got Cooney then. So all of a sudden you're thinking, well, actually, he was quite clever, and he assembled a side there that was, in my opinion anyway, definitely better than the sum of its parts. And there were some important people in there. Songo came in at Southend, and obviously he did a fantastic job. But you look at it, and the change in players like Cole Stockton and John O'Sullivan particularly, that's got to be a massive improvement, wasn't it, Mick?
100%. Like, I thought towards the start of last season of Cole Stockton and that wasn't the best, but I think as the season progressed, he improved drastically, and of course scored a lot of goals and stuff. And in the end, I think Derek assembled one of the great sides that there's ever been to date and stuff. So I think that Derek did a great job in that, and also, he knew what he was doing. Everything he had experience of getting Plymouth Argyle out of League Two a couple of seasons back and stuff. So he's a man that he knew what he was doing and stuff, and he brought in the right players to do that job in the end. So, yeah.
And it's a fair point that's been made in the fact that, as I've said, we're probably better than the sum of our parts. The improvement in some players, but also he absolutely stuck 100% behind Carlos. And Carlos, obviously, we know now he's gone for big money to Luton Town, but he justified that in absolute spades. Derek, accused of being quite a defensive-minded manager, he was very, very, and I want to touch on this because I think he deserves credit. He was very, very astute with the way games were developing, and he could work out how to stop teams and how to hurt them. And he did that so many times. So many times you've probably heard me and Glenn go, he's bringing a sub on. What's he doing? And 5 minutes later, it becomes obvious, good God, that's why he's the manager. And that's just an immense skill he's got there, Joel.
No, yeah, he was such a good skill. And I mean, and the way he could have stuck with players, knew what players to have in. I think what's always interesting is we were quite defensive, but we actually, quite a lot of the time, especially in the first half of the season before Phillips left, we actually had quite a lot of attacking players on the pitch. It was Songo, the defence, and then just Wilding and Phillips in midfield, who were very attacking. And then obviously O'Sullivan and Carlos and Cole. I mean, the way he got... I mean, I thought Jim Bentley always got good performances out of Cole Stockton because the way he plays. Cole, I think he likes to be the focal point up front. The ball sticks to him pretty well. We get players around him. And the way he Derek took that and ran with it and made it better was brilliant. But yeah, I think talking of changes and kind of doing things that you don't expect. There's a game that sticks out to me. I don't know if you remember the 2-2 draw against Exeter. We were 2-1 ahead at the break.
Yeah.
They came out, they were brilliant in the second half, and they took us to pieces. And we were under the cosh. They got an equaliser, and I was thinking, oh my God, we're going to lose this one. But then he takes off Kenyon, who's obviously nominally a more defensive player, and brings on Toombs, who is obviously good defensively, but has a bit more about him on the ball, but isn't quite as dominant in the air and stuff as Kenyon is. But what that did is that just gave us a little bit more ability on the ball to keep the ball, and when we were winning it back, not just boot it away. So it's just little tweaks like that you don't always expect. And, I think obviously he's at Bradford. It would be quite funny to see him crash and burn. Ultimately, I think he'll do great there because he's such a good manager.
You're tickling me there because I'm sure there's a part of all four of us who are thinking, oh, I hope Songo doesn't do as well there. And, but that's one of those things. And it's a fair point you make. And I'll come to Jack now because obviously when, Songo was very much a destroyer. And the worst part of his game by an absolute mile was the passing. But you can forgive him that when he's sticking it in row T and he's got rid of danger. But being to move on, from Derek to where we are now, are there any players that you and Mickey would have liked to have kept who we've lost? Would it be Songo? I wasn't too bothered about Jan going because I think he would have been found out at that better division because the simple fact is we give the ball away more like Jan used to. We're putting ourselves under more pressure. Whereas, as Joel said, Toombs is a better user of the ball and can probably do just as good a job in this division. But I wonder, were there any players that you two thought you're disappointed we lost?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, I think I would have liked Jan to stay just to see how he dealt with League One. But beyond that, probably maybe O'Sullivan. I thought he really came on last year, and I would have liked to have seen him stay with us as well. But obviously, the deal that Accrington offered him on a personal level, is a no-brainer. So, but overall, no, I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, certainly if you read a lot of predictions, obviously we're predicted to finish 24th. But when you read them and you think, they're saying, we've lost half the squad or more from last season. But actually, I think I'd have been more concerned if we'd have lost all those players in League Two. I think coming up to League One, obviously the change in manager as well, Stephen Robson's been able to come in, obviously build a squad that he wanted. I think actually Derek would have liked to have done that in October 19 or whenever it was that he came in. Was it 19? Yeah, lose track of the years. But couldn't. So, to start afresh and build a squad that is suitable for the league we're in, I think is actually a really good opportunity. And, as I'm sure we'll come on to, we've made some good signings, I think. So, really excited to see us start on Saturday.
What about you, Mickey? I would agree. I would agree to a certain extent. I think I voted Sully as my player of the season. But and obviously we're sad to lose Carlos, but that's probably funded us for half a season, knowing what we got for Carlos, apparently. Because I don't know what it is, but I know what I think it is. But there you go. But I won't go on record with that. So what about you, Mickey? Are you disappointed to lose anybody?
I think for me, Jan Songo was a bit of a loss because I'd like him stay and give League one a try out. And also Sully and I think McAlinden as well. I thought towards the back end of last season, McAlinden was decent. And again, I'd like him stay and give a League one a pop in the end. So, yeah.
So, moving on, obviously, the worst kept secret, Derek was leaving. We're in a slightly different position than in past years because obviously we're running around pre-season. We haven't got a manager. We don't know the retained list. And so the board had to work pretty quickly. And they came up with Stephen Robinson and Dermot. Didn't really know much about him, if I'm honest. But when you sort of read about him, you thought, well, he's done a half-decent job at Motherwell. Joel, your thoughts on Stephen and Dermot as a team?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, I won't pretend to have known a huge amount about him before his name shot up in the bookies odds about a day or two before we actually announced it. So obviously I've gone off and I've done lots of feverish research because I wanted to try and find out as much as I could. And like you say, I liked it, what I read about him. Obviously the stuff at Motherwell, it's quite a comparable situation to here at Morecambe in that they're one of the lower budgets in the Scottish Premiership. There are some really big clubs, obviously, in the Scottish Premiership. And he's had to punch above his weight. He's had a couple of cup finals up there, which is great for them. He had the third place finish in his last full season, got him into the Europa League. So he's done some so just looking at that, the way he kind of, the achievements he had with Motherwell, they felt very, not completely comparable, obviously, it's a different league, but, you know, there were similarities there. And then looking at the kind of, in terms of his style of play, when he first went into Motherwell, he took over, he went 3-5-2, very direct. I don't, for League Two, obviously we've just been in League Two, I don't know if anybody keeps track of other players in League Two, how much you do. Ryan Bowman, who's been at Exeter, likes to chuck his elbows about everywhere and jump in the air a lot. That's who he had at Motherwell at the time, 3-5-2, lumping up the pitch. I recommend you watch the highlights of their cup semi-finals that season. They're really funny.
I've seen it. Yeah.
They're great fun. But
you don't need grass.
I know, yeah. It was just sticking up there, getting to them. But then after that, about a year later, he suddenly decides, actually, I've got a load of good young players coming through. Goes 4-3-3, high pressing, moving through the thirds a bit more. So yeah, it'll adapt to the players. I think he said 4-3-3 is his preferred formation. That's what we're going to see this season, it looks like, especially when you look at the friendlies and if you're at the Q&A the other night. And there'll be tweaks, obviously, depending on who comes in, who you know, and all that, and who he has in the squad. And we'll just see how it develops. I think it might be quite counter-attacking, but we'll move the ball a lot on the floor, a lot more than last season.
Yeah, I know. Looking at getting the feedback from the other night, because I've spoken to about 3 people who were there, and obviously you were lucky enough to be there. But I think he's admitted he's probably going to have to be a bit more counter-attacking than he initially first thought. Is that right?
Yeah, he mentioned he mentioned that his initial intention was to be really press really, really high up the pitch. That's been tempered a little bit more to kind of maybe, especially for some games. Were we all at the Blackpool game, weren't we?
Yeah.
A lot of that. In the first half was a great counter-attacking performance, I thought, the way we were organised. And then when we did get the ball, we took it back there was a couple of spells when we had it for a few minutes, took the pressure off, got the goal from a lovely passing move. So yeah, but I think a lot of the time, especially probably against the better teams in the division, like Blackpool would be compared to us, we'll probably just be a bit more tight and defensive and organised.
So moving on again to Jack and to Mickey, looking at, as you touched on before, Jack, the retained list and the players that they've signed. The retained list, I'm guessing that first of all, keeping John McMahon as the assistant, he would be given a lot of advice of who to keep and who to leave. Now, obviously, Sully, we didn't have a choice. Songo decided he was going. And obviously, KP decided he was going as well, and he's got a deal for himself. Fine. But looking beyond that, I think the most important person they've kept is probably John McMahon, because they've got that continuity. What are your thoughts on him and Dermot and Stephen?
Yeah, I think you're probably right, and I think that's probably shown in the signings as well. Obviously, we've had some continuity there in the likes of signing Cooney, who was obviously with us last season. You would like to assume that, John McMahon's probably had some involvement in that decision. Same with Phillips coming in. Exactly. Two great signings, particularly actually to sign Cooney. I mean, I think, it was probably bandied around Shrimp's voices that Cooney might come back on loan and stuff like that as an obvious sort of thing. And then for him to actually sign on a 2-year deal at the age he is, and the quality we know he's got, I think is superb. And then to get Adam Phillips back as well, we know what he can do. It was a shame how he left us, but we can forget about that now, or we will do once he scores a couple more goals. And yeah, Dermot coming in is obviously fantastic for those of us that were around when he played for us.
Mickey doesn't remember, do you?
No. I'll be honest, actually, I was talking to a couple of friends about it, and I obviously remember him playing for us, but I couldn't pinpoint the year that he played for us. I can picture him in the shirt, but I still can't tell you what year it was.
I think it was probably about 08, 09.
That's the one, with the Mopé shirt.
Yeah, that's it. Right. Yeah, 08, 09, 10. He had a couple of seasons, and at the time, I was Glenn was editor of the Visitor, and he roped me in because they had no photographers, and he roped me in to take photographs. So I went to a million places like Chesterfield and Grimsby. Bloody freezing at Grimsby, but I went there. And Dermot was always warming up in front of me, and I used to talk to him and go, is he going to put you on here? Because Sammy Mack was notoriously, absolutely wouldn't make a change, you know, and him and Lils would talk about it for 20 minutes, and it'd be like, just get him on. So Dermot used to run up and down with me, and I'd go, bloody hell, Dermot, are you ever going to get on? And in his Irish accent, it was like, you know what they're like. So when he came back, I was like, oh yeah, I can't wait to see him and go, what, are you coming on or what? You know, but it's funny, isn't it? But yeah. Now, obviously, again, Jack and Mickey, Stephen obviously played. I think he played one game for Spurs, didn't he? But originates in Northern Ireland, and you look at the signings we've made, and there's definitely a Northern Irish tinge to quite a few of the signings, isn't there? If you look at the history of like people like Delaney and Delaney and O'Connor tells you, doesn't it? Really. So from that point of view, you know, there is a history, you know, of Irish under 21, Northern Irish under 21s, blah, blah, blah. So he's actually signing people from a completely different pool to both Jim Bentley and Derek Adams. Am I wrong, Mickey? Am I wrong, Jack?
No, I think you're right, and I think it's good to sort of, you know, see players come in from different pools. I think we all know that, you know, 3 or 4 years ago we were a team full of Liverpudlians, weren't we? And it was very much that sort of clique. And I think so I think Derek came in and probably you know, broke a few of those circles, didn't he, quite quickly. So yeah, to have players coming over with a Northern Irish background, you know, great. We've obviously got a history of Northern Irish managers as well. So you know, anything that develops the club is brilliant.
It's been pretty successful. If you look at Jim Harvey and Sammy Mack, they both got us. Jim Harvey got us into the conference. Sammy Mack got us into the league. So, question, Mickey: can Stephen Robinson get us into the Championship?
Fingers crossed, yeah.
I like your confidence. Why? Why? First of all, we are an unknown quantity, and as Jack's already said, yes, we're you know, bookies look at us, and it doesn't matter what division we're in, we're going to be bottom, which is hilarious. But why? What makes you think? I mean, I was lucky enough to go to Workington. I didn't go to Chorley, thankfully, because apparently it wasn't very good. I did go to Kendal last week, and I saw the Blackpool friendly, and I think I've said enough to say I think we might do better than people think. Mickey, what do you think?
I think 100%. It's like some of you said, all the bookies have instantly said, right, Morecambe 24th. But I think this season will prove quite a lot of people wrong and pull off quite a lot of surprise results against some of the bigger teams, which I'd love to see. And it's like previously, like every season, we've always been like a bit like a relegation, and we've obviously stayed up, and especially last season, majorly proving the bookies wrong. You think, as a Morecambe fan, why can't we do it again? Why can't we prove the bookies wrong yet again?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think looking at as again, we'll go back to the signings. And Joel, the one thing that we've got, which we've not had for many, many years, probably since Gary Thompson and Carl Baker, we've got McPake, we've got, and I will be careful how I pronounce this, but we've got King Arthur Nahoa. That's careful, but that's it. And obviously we've got Wes McDonald. And also we've got Ayunga, and we've also got Abika. Now, Abika's going to be out till probably late November. But what's the connection with all? Join the dots, Joel. Tell us why they're all connected.
They're all pretty quick.
Yes,
yes,
exactly.
That is something that we've not had for quite a long time. I think even someone like Carlos, who was brilliant, and he was not slow, but he wasn't he wasn't a pace demon. He was more about kind of technical ability. Like he liked to cut inside and not go down the outside. And the way he got his goals was a lot of it was just through being intelligent and good positioning. But yeah, I think what has encouraged me about the way we've recruited some of these players, especially the likes of McDonald and McPake and Nahua, is that there's a clear profile. Like they're all quick, they all like to take the man on. I know Nahua and McDonald both have a bit of a reputation for hitting, like in a good long range effort. there's clearly a plan from Robinson. He clearly thinks these are the kind of wingers I want to get. I'll get them in. A younger, I think, is a really interesting signing. I think Abika and Stockton are more kind of hold-up target men. Having looked at some of Abika's highlights, they take the ball in, they kind of bring others into play. A younger, he's a big lad, he's a physical presence, which is probably what McAlinden lacked a bit last season when he played at centre forward. But he also has that ability to run at people, running behind. We saw what he did to Richard Keogh. We made Richard Keogh look exactly how old Richard Keogh is on Saturday.
He looked like he'd just got out of that car crash, didn't he?
No, exactly. Yeah, he did not look sharp at all when our younger decided to take him on. But yeah, it's great to have that. A younger is an option at centre forward. I wonder if he might occasionally feature out wide. And obviously, McPake looks a great prospect from Rangers. Had a good spell with Harrogate last season.
Well, it's funny because you were fortunate like me. We were at Harrogate, and their best player on the day by a mile was McPake. And I remember in our commentary, I turned to Glenn after about 20 minutes, went, "Who is he?" And Glenn, being his diligent self, should have done it beforehand. That's my fault. He went on Google and I went, "Oh, he's on loan from Rangers." I went, "Yeah, it looks like it," because he was. If you remember, he had a good go at Mellor, and Mellor played him quite well actually on the day. But then he came and he had to go, and Gibson went off injured, if you remember, because he turned him in knots. So and that doesn't happen to Gibbo often, does it? So
No.
So yeah, so it was. It does look good. The only thing I'll say, and this is just me doing some research on Abika, you're absolutely right about his show reel. He's always back to goal. But if you go on the St Mirren board, they reckon they played him wrong. They reckon he's definitely on the shoulder centre forward because he's quick. That's what they said. They said you'd be better off playing him through the channels because he's lightning quick. Now, the one thing I did say at Workington, that's how they applied him. He was great with it, but we got it out wide, McDonald and what have you, and they were throwing little diagonal balls through, and that's exactly what was happening with Abika. So I'd like to have seen more of him before he got injured, but that's just the way it is, isn't it? But
yeah, that's really interesting. I had no idea about that.
It's just the St Mirren message board said, "Oh yeah, he was great, but," and loads of people agreed he's better on the shoulder because he's quick. So he's another one who's quick. So I was like, well, perhaps he can do both. So that's why Prop's a good signing. Apart from, as usual, and I want to mention this now, we've always had one person a season. AJ Leach-Smith. I think a few years ago we had Marshall, we had Paul Scott, we had
Peter Murphy,
Adam Rundle. There's always one member of the squad who comes in and goes immediately AWOL with like, "Oh no, I've got a twinge and I've got a." And I was stood on the terraces against Blackpool. I went, "Please don't tell me Abika's going to be our lead swinger," because we've always had one of them. And I just think, come on. So I hope he gets back and fits in, but we'll see. So let's go to the sort of midfielders in the defence, Jack. You've seen a few games. Who you liking the look of, and who you thinking,
Interesting. I think the two that I'd like to see more of. I have seen a few of the friendlies, but would like to see more of are McPake, obviously highly rated from Rangers. I think he's going to be an exciting player for us this season. And also McCalmont, obviously from Leeds, who we've not mentioned yet. A lot of Leeds fans seem to think highly of him as well. So, I'm sure he's got a bright future in the game, and hopefully he can sort of, start that with us and take us places this season. So I think them two, in terms of midfielders, are probably the two I'm keeping my eye on this season. And in defence, really, I suppose. Well, it'll be interesting to see how we line up in defence. Actually, I'm not quite sure what to expect on Saturday at Ipswich. Obviously, we had the back line against Blackpool on Saturday. Sam Lavelle not being in that back line was obviously a bit of a surprise. So I'm sure we'll touch on that. But so yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we line up. Whether we have a sort of settled back line or whether he mixes it up a bit. We've obviously got plenty of competition for places, and I think, similar to last season, actually, it's good that we've got that competition, but it also means you don't know who's going to start, but also whoever does start is going to do a good job. I think we're going to have that this season as well, because we've got some decent players on the books.
Yeah, Mickey, Stephen's been very... I don't know. I don't know what to call him. Robbo, the gaffer, Stephen. I don't know yet. We'll see. But he's been quite clever in the fact that he's pretty much done what he wanted to, and he's got two in every position.
Yeah, I think that'll also play a massive part on the players as well, because I think they'll play or they'll perform to the highest ability, because they know that if they don't play to the highest ability, that they're in favour of getting dropped because there's someone else in that position as well. So I think having two in every position works its favours and stuff. So I think that'll be good.
And obviously we haven't mentioned Aaron Wildig. We haven't mentioned Callum Jones, who's obviously very highly rated by Hull. McCalmont, yeah, you've mentioned, Jack. If you remember the two games against Oldham last year, McCalmont, Colin McElhaney and Bahambula were their three best players by a mile. And if you remember the game at the Mazuma, I think that ended up, was it 5-3 or something like that? And it was like they were fantastic going forward, but dreadful at the back. But every time they went forward, I was thinking, what a game this is. It's fantastic. And that was because of McElhaney, who's now on 3-year contract and $5,000 a week at Salford. Exactly, I don't know. And obviously Mahambula, and then McElhaney, and McCalmont. And McCalmont is a big signing. And it was interesting, if you're taking anything from the Blackpool friendly, you're thinking, is that likely to be what he's looking at starting with? Because McCalmont was in the starting lineup. Joel, you were at the Blackpool game. Do you think that's going to be something like we start at Ipswich?
From looking at how that midfield played as well in the first half against Blackpool, so that was Toombs, Wildig and McCalmont. I have a strong feeling that they will start. I think Toombs played in that holding role really well. He took the ball nicely. I think we could have used him a bit more at times, actually. But he took the ball nicely on the half turn. He was always looking for McCalmont, I thought. And that worked really nicely because McCalmont took the ball really well. He gets his head up, he looks for a pass, and obviously he helped start off that move that got us the goal. Yeah, that little kind of that link between Toombs and McCalmont, that was really good. I think Wildig had a quieter first half, grew into it the second half. But even in the first half, he just showed some lovely touches. And I think we were talking about players who've come on under Derek Adams, and hopefully Wildig can do the same under Robinson. But I think we're seeing so much more of Wildig at the moment, because obviously I think he knitted play together well last season, but obviously we didn't have that much to play. So it was more about him getting into good goal scoring areas and making an impact that way. I think this season maybe we might see a bit more of his technical ability, because he is really good technically. He's comfortable on the ball. He'll move it around well. And then with him, so I think Toombs, Wilden, McCalmont will probably be starting. You'd think that that Lavelle will probably come back in at centre back. I'd assume partnering O'Connor. Wouldn't surprise me to see Cooney start again. He was unbelievable against Blackpool. He was my man of the match.
Yeah, he was smart.
I think Gibson and Leatherman will probably stay in for continuity, I think, at the moment.
It's funny because I was going to ask that. What does everybody think about the starting lineup in goals? Because my position is Leatherman, even though we signed him from Chesterfield and they were like good riddance to bad rubbish, he's never let us down. He's never let us down, has he, Jack? No,
exactly. Yeah, he's been steady pair of hands, and I'd expect that he probably will start. But we like to have two good players in each place, and we've got that with the goalkeepers as well. So it'll keep him on his toes, and we'll see how the season progresses. I suspect we'll probably see both players play quite a number of games, because I think both will be expecting it. But competition for places is fantastic.
Joel, I don't think Jokel's come to be number 2, has he? Jokel, I don't know what to call him, but he hasn't, has he? He's come to challenge Kyle.
Yeah, not at all. And we've seen a bit in pre-season. He's pulled us some great stops. I think Leathering, he grew into his position. I'm actually talking of that Harrogate game. I think that Harrogate game, that was a coming of age. Well, not coming of age, about 34. But that was him kind of really blending into a Morecambe shirt then, because they just hurled long throw after long throw at him, and he dealt with it brilliantly all afternoon. And then from then on, he really kicked on. He was awesome in the playoffs. And I think he probably does deserve to start off with the shirt, probably, just because based on that, what he did in the playoffs, he was so good then. But obviously, Anderson is a brilliant young keeper. I love the kind of the way he plays, the way he's very confident for such a young guy, as well. He's only 19, 20 years old. So he'll be a great challenge, and I think it'll be a really tight battle. To be honest, whoever's in there, I'm not going to feel worried. I feel happy with either of them.
And I understand after the question and answer the other night that, and I like what you did there by calling him Anderson because it's easier than Yokel. I understand Anderson's mental.
Yeah, he is. He's brilliant. I love him to bits. I love some of the behind the scenes footage we've got of him. Looks great, and he's just like a happy Labrador, a happy young Labrador bounding about. He's full of life. I don't know if they'll release this on YouTube, but he had a great bit when somebody asked him who had the hardest shot, and he said Callum Jones. Callum Jones has got a wobbler, but just in the way he kind of says it in that kind of slight Icelandic accent, and with that kind of
Berkshire,
with that kind of exuberant way he's got of speaking, it was just very, very funny.
So I'll come to Mickey now. We've touched on most of the forwards. We've touched on most of the midfielders. Joel's already said he suspects Sam might sneak back in alongside possibly O'Connor. Who would you start with across the back four? This is Ipswich Saturday, and whatever you pick, this is what we're doing.
I'd like to see Cooney because, like Joel said, Cooney was absolutely amazing for us last season, and like many others in here, he was my man of the match on Saturday. And then I'd like to see Sam Lavelle creep back into it, and O'Connor as well. And then I'd like to see a bit of Ryan. I can't even say his name properly. Delaney. There we go. I've said it. And I'd like to see a bit. We are looking to be a really a good squad, to be fair. And what I like about Steve Robinson is that he signed lots of League One experience. So and I think at the end of the day is what's going to keep us in League One and stuff, and get us up and keep us in League.
Get us up. I like that. I like that. Yeah, that's twice you've said that. You're supremely confident. I like that. I mean, why not? Because I mean, you look. I come to the division now, and for somebody my age, and you see my picture there. That is Christie Park when that got knocked down in 1985. That was my home end. That was the school end. For those that aren't familiar with it, because obviously you're all a damn sight younger than me, and that's where I used to lean on. You can't quite see it, but I used to lean on that one there and abuse players because we were crap. We were absolutely terrible. I mean, I'm talking like and we were talking. I was talking to Rod yesterday about this, and he said, "David, I know you're a fan because you were there against Bangor City. We lost 9-0 at home to Bangor City, and there was 181 people there, and I paid." What an idiot! Looking at the division we're in now, we've got some absolutely mouth-watering games to come up, both home and away. What's going to be your highlight, Joel?
Oh, I'm looking forward to Sheffield Wednesday a lot on Bank Holiday at the end of August. I think they'll bring a lot. Oh, both, to be honest. I did some work experience at Sheffield Wednesday when I was at uni, and I've been around the ground a bit, so I'd love to go back there and have a look around. But obviously, when they come over for the home game, I think they're going to bring a lot. It'll be Bank Holiday weekend. They'll bring a fair few over. And then obviously Sunderland at home in the last game, they could be going for promotion. That could be, and they'll bring I don't think there'll be too much shy of 2,000 people they'll probably bring. So that is just going to be...
If they were going for promotion, I would be putting a temporary stand behind the Berlin Wall with 3,000, 4,000 capacity, because you sell it like that. You would just sell it. And I don't know how much it costs to do that sort of thing, but it must be worth it, surely.
Yeah, definitely must be, yeah.
Anyway, go on. We'll yeah, exactly. Is that it, Sheffield Wednesday or Sunderland? I mean, a little story now. Me and Glenn have a competition with how many grounds you've been to, and I was 76 out of the 92, and he was 74. And then last year, he'd never been to, can't remember, but we both chalked on Harrogate, but I can't remember where he hadn't been to, but he caught me up. And I was like, damn. So he's on 75, 76 now, same as me. And then he started giggling the other week, and I'm like, "What are you giggling at?" He went, "You've been to the Valley, haven't you?" I went, "Yeah." He went, "I haven't." I'm like, "No!" So he goes ahead of me. So I'm looking forward to that one, but I'm not going to take Glenn. He has to get there on his own. I'm not going to. What about you, Jack? What are you looking forward to?
I think it has to be some of these big clubs, that's a sort of marker. Wednesday, Sunderland are the obvious ones. Some further away as well. I'm quite looking forward to Charlton, making a trip to London. I think that's Easter Good Friday, is it next year? So no. So yeah, that'll be a good one. And then the home games, again, just having, obviously we've had this season ticket initiative, so season tickets have been flying. It's going to be a whole different beast being in the Mazuma this year to what we've been used to. So I'm really excited for that, and the atmosphere that'll come with it. So yeah, exciting season, and we'll start on Saturday with a nice long trip down to Ipswich. So.
Yeah, it's a bit of a trek, but it's a nice ground, is Portman Road, as I'm sure you know, and our history against them isn't great. Well, I'd like to just a score, to be honest. So go on, then we'll go to Mickey. Mickey, have you got any different things you're looking forward to? You're going to say, I'm desperate to go to MK Dons. Go on.
Fair, I'm just looking forward to the whole season in general because as a Morecambe fan, I didn't think we'd ever be in League One, and that's just me. But the ones that stand out is, of course, Chef Wednesday away, and Chef Wednesday at home on a bank holiday weekend. They'll bring a few. Also, a Wigan as well. Wigan will be a good day out, and Wigan will bring a few. And also another one. Charlton away is on my 19th birthday as well, so that'll be a good day out. So
I'll make sure Glenn sends a card because he's not going. So looking at that, we forget completely that we've got Fleetwood, we've got Accrington, we've got Bolton, we've got Wigan. So we've got quite a few nice sort of local ones. And surely they're even if Fleetwood are doing okay and Wigan are doing okay and Accrington are doing okay, we probably look at full away ends for each of those, aren't we? So I'll go back to what Jack said there, though. The season ticket initiative has been a fantastic thing, Jack, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, incredible. And I think everyone's done really well to push it and spread the word. Amongst the friends, I've got people, colleagues, friends that have signed up for a season ticket that have never had one before. They might have come to odd games, but to get a season ticket for that price is just incredible. And hopefully it works both ways, and they get as hooked as we all are, and keep coming down in subsequent seasons. And that's how we'll build on the numbers we have, and take us to the next level that we are at league wise. But in terms of numbers of supporters, it'd be fantastic. And we've seen it with the trust as well. The trust memberships have gone through the roof. We've not even kicked a league ball yet, and we're ahead of the total number of members we had last season, which is fantastic.
Brilliant. That's superb.
Yeah.
And that's
exactly without taking any cash payments at all, because we've not been able to really. So that's all online, and there's still I think 100 to renew from last season. So we could be getting north of 600. I'll send you a bill.
I will. Yeah, do. I will renew. Honestly, so it is quite enlightened, isn't it, Joel? In the simple fact that we've heard for donkey's years that Bradford are basically. They work on giving a cheap season ticket because all their concession stands are owned by Bradford. All ours, even the ones that they've just put outside, are owned by the club. So they're hoping people will come. And I found this out this week as well, that a lot of the concession stands will be having card takers as well. It won't just be cash. So, I mean, that's sort of what's happening to our club. We're going 21st century.
Exactly. I did. Yeah, I had an issue on Saturday. Actually, I'd gone to the ground. They've not quite got the card readers in yet, but I think hopefully they should be up for Shrewsbury, because I went in and I was expecting to be able to get a pie. Obviously, it's been a long time since I've been at the Mazuma, and I wasn't able to have my half-time pie. After the match, I was quite hungry. I had to run to JB's bar, get myself 2 packets of crisps, and absolutely wolf them down. I must have looked a right sight after the game.
Well, just as a matter of interest, what pie were you after?
Oh, Chicken Ham and League, obviously.
Oh, of course. A man after my own heart. Yeah, quite right. Before we wrap it up, this occurred to me because I looked at my notes and realised we haven't actually mentioned Shane McLaughlin, which I think is a shame because he's come to us from Wimbledon as a classed as a box-to-box midfielder, but he made 70-odd appearances for Wimbledon as a fullback. And yet he's got a lot of energy. And I think he can bring something to the team, probably maybe just as an impact over the last 20 minutes, because apparently Wimbledon, he just flew up and down the line all the time. So I just wanted to mention Shane there. Any thoughts on him? Not seen much of him, but looks decent technical player. Jack?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think, like you say, probably a sort of player that can fit into a number of positions, which is very useful. Box to box. He might not be a standout player, but he might just be the sort of player that does a steady job for us, and that'll be useful as well. And he's got experience at the level, so another player.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly, and that's what Mickey was alluding to. He's brought a lot of experience in League One. So before we wrap up, I'm going to put you all on the spot and say I'm going to ask you your thoughts on the result at Ipswich and where you think we're going to finish in the league. Now that's a massive question, and it's a crap question to ask, but it's so that we can all come back at the end of the season and laugh at how wrong we were. Starting with Mickey.
Well, I think it's definitely not going to be easy at Ipswich because, again, they've got a following of about, I think they sold something like 18,000. So, of course, they've got their vocal backing. But I think that 400 Morecambe fans will do the job on the other hand as well. And it's not going to be an easy game, but I'd like to see us get a point. So I'm going to say 1-1. I'd happily take a point at Portman Road, but I might be wrong. Who could take all three? And I think for the season, we'll finish about 19th, 18th, 19th. I'd like to see us stay up this season in League One, and then hopefully push up of the table again, and keep proving the bookies wrong.
Jack?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, like Mickey says, really tough game on Saturday. I think to be consistent, my prediction on Shrimp's Voices in the prediction league was a 2-1 defeat, but that was certainly head over heart. So, but my heart's looking at a nice 1-0 away win to kick us off. That would be very lovely to bash the bookies as we start the season. And in terms of the overall finishing, I think I can see us being comfortable, 17th, 18th, something like that. But I'm hoping that we don't look at risk at any point. That would be my hope for the season.
And finally, Joel.
Yeah, I think Ipswich will be very tough. They've made some. They've not just signed random big names. They've signed some really kind of good players. They've, Rakeem Harper, I really like. Connor Chaplin from Barnsley, Matt Penny. They've got some serious signings, so it will be tough. However, a lot of new players. They need, obviously, we need to gel, but they need to gel. They've got a lot of pressure on, and with like Mickey saying, they've got like 18,000 tickets sold. There'll be a lot of pressure on them to, turn up and do a great job. And they'll want us to get. Their fans will be pretty keen for them to give us a pasting, and they'll be a little bit expectant. And we're not going to lie down. I think if we can turn the crowd, frustrate them a bit, I'll be hopeful of getting a decent result. I'll go say. I'll go a little bit exciting. I'll say 2-2. But for the season, I think probably in the same territory as Jack and Mickey. To be honest, a lot of people have us down as kind of dead certs for a relegation battle. I don't think we are. I think there'll be times when we feel a bit close to the wire, and it's going to be tough, very tough. But at the end of the day, I think we've got a far better chance of staying up than a lot of people have given us credit for when you look at the business that we've done and how it's all quite coherent. So I'll say 17th.
So we've got 19th, 18th, 17th. So that leaves me to go. I actually think we'll probably lose on Saturday just because they've got something to prove in front of their own fans, because their home record's not been great in the last couple of seasons. And as you alluded to quite rightly, Joel, they've made some astute signings for this division. They've not signed anybody who's massive, but they've signed some good players who will probably be very, very hard to beat at this level. I think we may also be hard to beat, so I'm going to go for a slim 1-0 defeat. And finish-wise, I'm around about the same as you guys. I'm hoping it could be as high as 15th, but I would happily take 18th or 19th, bearing in mind we haven't got the experience. So that just about wraps up ShrimpsNet number 6. My thank you to, first of all, to Mickey Miller, who is, my partner in crime and co-producer of the first 5 ShrimpsNet. Jack Steer, who's the money man, the man with his hands on the purse for the Shrimps Trust, who will now be chasing me quite rightly for my tenner. And is it still a tenner?
Still a tenner. Bargain.
Bargain, absolute bargain. And also, you get that trolley thing. That's what I want, really. That trolley thing that comes with it. So there you go. And finally, to my new co-producer, Mr. Joel Shooter, who's very kindly sort of jumped in and said, "Right, well, we'll do this more often." And that's brilliant, Joel. I'm thankful that you've you came to my rescue, because I was going to have to try to persuade Mickey to do it, and I know he's got a lot on. So if we do it weekly, that's brilliant. So thank you very much to all 3 of you. Good luck for Saturday, and we will review again fairly soon. Probably, I would imagine, Joel, after the Blackburn game sometime.
Yeah, very possibly. Very possibly.
That's good. So this has been ShrimpsNet number 6. Thank you for joining us. Join us again next time.